How do I answer British allegiance to Yoko Ono? It's relatively simple. There's two answers to it that constitute the truth. It's strange to have the truth as your defense in modern times. Howard Debrushin, who sort of mocked what happened as a smorgasbord of sexual opportunity, that was the word he chose, asked me, well, first of all, he perceived Pittsburgh's politics that if a 15-year-old girl manages to force herself through gang violence on a traumatized 13-year-old deaf kid, that he's done for in Pittsburgh politics. But he said, why did you take the bait if you knew that it was entrapment? I said I was following the leader. He dismissed that as I can't possibly sell. But he understood what they were doing. They were trying to trigger an outburst. They're trying to make the tea kettle go off. He was the person who diagnosed me as having had a seizure. So I'm grateful in some ways to some of the things he said, but it turns out I was absolutely right. I asked him, was I wrong? Greg Carl's papers fell into my hands. He talks about forces impinging on a persona's experience. I realized that Frank Herbert's subtlety was lent to the perpetrators. I realized that the mask of approval for the AIDS attack is in the sharks of the sandbaggers. But they can't come out and say that either. They can't admit that the Beatles supported the AIDS attack. They can't admit that. They have to make a moan and groan about could have saved John Lennon when they don't even arrest the girl who wrote the script. Frank Herbert said the way to protect people from a trap is to endure it and capture the person who set the trap. And they go, oh, can't be true. Was I wrong? There were forces impinging on the persona's experience. First of all, Lennon was himself a libertine. He made a cock and bull story about the croquet rooster, but he was a libertine. And they were selling libertinage as romantic freedom, she's leaving home stuff. So they were liars and hypocrites at the best. Truth is a little bit different. But because you can get away with being liars and hypocrites when you're the Beatles. It was not a good time, however, to be sniveling and leering and hating and throwing darts in people's eyes about them having lovers. It was not a very wise or humane. What they tried to do was trigger, oh no, we are as close to Weasum as you are. Oh, come and be redeemed. Come and be redeemed. The people who will help you are in the church. It was not a good time for the stuff. It was better to put aside sniveling and doing like this, being human vultures, being human AIDS viruses, saying you deserved it, you had it coming. It was not a good time for that. I put all of that aside. Was I wrong? To detect forces impinging on the persona's experience, I virtually declared the setting up an AIDS testing operation, which they were. And I was trying to find out what was going on, humanizing the fact that people dated in Pittsburgh, and they didn't deserve lethal hostilities from the British. Secretly, in a Houdini operation with Reagan, in which Lennon had a play acting role, which is the second part of the truth. Was I wrong? Pub Carl wrote, the persona is subjective. Let's expand on what he meant by subjective. He meant Palestinian hags said wish. Queers said ha ha ha, just ha. Is subjected to successive degradations of the X motive, and then subsumed into a storybook mongered by Don John Trumpy Toon.